Good evening, everybody. This is Erik Proseus, MemphisWeather.net meteorologist, and just wanted to take a few minutes here, recording this about 5:15, 5:20 on Tuesday evening. We've gotten into the beginning stages of the what we expected to be the severe weather period of interest for today, and so wanted to kind of give you an update on where things stand right now and how things are looking as we head into those evening hours, and your plans and so forth that you've got for tonight. Just kind of what to expect, and we're going to focus kind of on what's going on right now, what some of the parameters are that are leading to the potential for severe weather and how they stand right now, and then take a quick look at the forecast and let you go. So we'll keep this fairly short. So I am going to share my screen and go over to. Here we go. Let's try this one more time. Sorry about that. All right, so let's take a quick look then at the regional radar and watches and warnings map here, so you can see what's going on across the area. We do have tornado watches down to our south. Those are the purple boxes that are lined up through central Mississippi down into Louisiana, and a couple of new ones that have moved into have appeared there in western Alabama as well. That's where most of the severe weather is actually taking place right now. The red boxes are tornado warnings. The yellow boxes are severe thunderstorm warnings. And you can see up around the Memphis area, we have some showers that are around. We've had some thunderstorms that move through. Those have actually moved well up off to the northeast that came through the middle of the day today. Just off and on showers and a couple of thunderstorms this afternoon, but we're kind of getting into that time period where we have a little bit more concern for severe weather, and so I want to give you an idea of kind of what's going on with that. So we'll zoom in just a little bit closer, and you can see that we do have some showers and a few thunderstorms that have formed over southeastern Arkansas. All of these are moving to the northeast, pretty good clip, 50 to 60 miles an hour, so they're moving pretty rapidly. These last few that have moved through have kind of weakened after they have gotten up to the north of I-40 or approaching the metro area, and I'll show you why that is and why that might change as we head into the evening hours. So first, we'll take a quick look at some of the surface analysis for around the Memphis area and in the southeast region. There is a cold front that is stretched right now across northwestern Arkansas back into Texas. Out ahead of that, we've got strong southerly winds coming up straight out of the Gulf of Mexico. So that is feeding in the moisture into the area and bringing us the showers and thunderstorms that we have experienced and are still expecting. And then I want to take a look at all the moisture that is in place across the area as well. So this really points to just how much water is in the air right now. It's pretty sticky and has gotten stickier as the day has gone along, and all of this is being fed by those southerly winds. So we've got very, very strong moisture fetch up out of the Gulf of Mexico, right in here into the Mid-South and up in towards the Tennessee Valley. If we look at one of the main ingredients for the formation of severe thunderstorms in particular, that is CAPE, which is the instability or the storm fuel that is required to get storms going, especially if they're going to be severe and potentially produce tornadoes or very strong wind gusts. And you can basically see the kind of the red contours here. Memphis is right in that area, just ahead or just north of those contours. So this is where most of that storm fuel is right now. Now, it has been shifting to the north all day long. This morning, that was way down by the Gulf Coast, and we're getting enough into northern Mississippi and southern Arkansas where these storms are forming and then moving to the northeast that they are feeding off of this instability or storm fuel that's in that area. And as we continue to get these southerly winds through the evening hours, and actually even the mid-level winds very strong out of the south to southwest, it's pushing that instability up into our area. And so that is one of the things that we're looking for. And if we see how that has changed over the last 3 hours, if I can hit the right place, you'll see this is in this area across North Mississippi and especially into Arkansas. Instability has risen a great deal in those areas, and even up here in the Memphis area, those CAPE values, the convective available potential energy or the instability, has increased pretty good over the last 3 hours. I expect this to continue for a few more hours this evening. So some of those storms that are down to our south now will have a better chance to, instead of weakening as they get up to the Memphis area, we'll have a better chance of holding together if we can get them up here. One of the things that another thing that we look at is what we call shear in the environment, and the shear is what is driving not only the potential for the strength of these storms, but also for the potential for tornadoes. This looks like a lot of blue squiggly spaghetti lines all over the area, but basically what we're seeing up across the entire Mid-South region is very strong wind shear. That's changes in the wind from the surface aloft going up into the storm levels, and with very strong wind shear, that basically means that if we get storms to form, then they can maintain their strength and produce severe weather. So we definitely have, as typically happens when we get a kind of a cool season environment, wind shear is not a problem. There is plenty of it there. If we go down and look at the wind shear in the very lowest part of the atmosphere, so this is in the lowest kilometer of the atmosphere, or just a few thousand feet. What we're seeing here is that there is a pretty good amount of low-level wind shear kind of along the Mississippi River, but a lot of this is displaced farther to the east and to the south of us. And that is actually, this low-level shear is what is necessary to produce tornadoes and to be able to get that spin that occurs near the ground. And so this is why we are seeing the higher levels of severe weather outlook, the higher severe weather outlook levels down here to our south. That was kind of suppressed just a little bit down in our area from a moderate risk down to a slight risk today, level 4 down to a level 2, or level 3 down to level 2 as we went through the day. And it was more enhanced, the higher levels down to our south, because of this spin in the atmosphere. And that was really the big concern, was the potential for having enough instability or storm fuel and then getting the wind shear in place. And then if you get that low level shear, that can spin up the tornadoes, and with enough of it, keep those tornadoes going and having long track tornadoes. And this is the corridor where a lot of that is expected to happen, is kind of from northeast Louisiana across central Mississippi up into Alabama. So that's kind of the reason part of our severe weather threat level has reduced a little bit today. And this is actually good for us as well. There's plenty of shear out there to produce the potential for a tornado, but it looks like the higher values are going to remain down to our south. So if we take a look at what the Storm Prediction Center has forecast for us, this is the current Storm Prediction Center outlook, categorical outlook. So Memphis is right on the edge, just north of the orange or enhanced. That's a level 3 severe weather risk. We are in the level 2 here in Memphis. You can see the moderate risk, which is the red, is where that kind of, we were just looking at, the highest potential for long track tornadoes is down through central Mississippi down into northeast Louisiana. So that is why they have the moderate risk. For us, a slight risk is category 2. Enhanced is covering part of the southern metro, and that is a level 3. And so those areas, certainly we can still see the potential for severe weather. It's that our tornado risk is not quite as high. If we look at this individually by types of severe weather predicted, this is the tornado risk areas for the rest of tonight. And you can see kind of the bullseye down here in Mississippi, just to the south of Memphis. And we did have refresh the higher levels up closer to Memphis, and even right over southwest Tennessee, far southwest Tennessee, as we started the day. But the parameters have just come together a little bit better down to our south as the day has gone along, and that's kind of how the models work. We look at the new data that comes in, and the atmosphere changes. The models predict things slightly differently, and that's been pushed just a little bit to our south. We still are in a 5% tornado risk, which means there's a 5% chance that a tornado could form within 25 miles of you. It certainly is not nothing, so we want to keep our eyes open for that in case we do get some strong storms this evening. As far as the wind risk, the high wind risk, so this would be of 57 miles an hour or higher. There's a pretty large area of potential for severe winds, and that includes all of West Tennessee, East Arkansas, North Mississippi. Higher values, again, down through that corridor in central Mississippi where the greatest chance of severe weather is, but a 15% risk of seeing winds of 60 miles an hour or so within 25 miles of us yet this evening. And then for the hail risk, this has actually gone up during the day. We've got some pretty cold air aloft, and that has The difference between that cold air aloft and the warm air at the surface creates that instability, and the colder it is, the more likely that we are to see hail. And so there is a fairly large area where in the red, all the way up to basically the state line down into Mississippi and Louisiana, where large hail is definitely a factor. And the 15% risk, similar to the wind, extends all the way up across West Tennessee as well. So any storms that we might get this evening would produce potential for seeing some hail and certainly some high winds and the risk of an isolated tornado as well. So let's take a look at how the models are projecting this out for the next few hours as we go into the evening. This is the HRRR model, which is one of our best high-resolution models. It does tend to maybe overdo things just a little bit, but we recognize that and compare it against other models and make our forecasts accordingly. But I wanted to give you an idea of what this looks like. So this is the latest forecast that we've got from this model. This is valid at 6 p.m. tonight, and it's just forecast radar. So it's projecting what the radar might look like as of 6 p.m. And you can see most of the activity down here in Mississippi, but it does have storms down to our southwest. Remember, all the storms today are moving to the northeast. A few storms up over Western Tennessee as well. So if I take this out hour by hour, this is 7 o'clock, and you can see those storms that it projects in southeast Arkansas creeping up towards the Memphis area by 6, 7 o'clock. And by 8 o'clock, they're kind of over the metro. You notice that most of this is basically kind of along and south of I-40, and of course Mississippi will continue to get their storms. But it does think that the storms that we've had mostly to our southeast today, this afternoon, will start to fill back into the north as this instability to our south continues to push to the north. We should be able to sustain a little bit more storm activity as we go into the evening. This is 9 p.m. and it's starting to you'll still see some storms there, but not quite as great of coverage. And we're also starting to see this kind of thin line back in northeast Arkansas. That's actually the cold front moving in from the west. So once that moves through, all of our activity will be done for tonight. Here's 10 o'clock, and you can see as that cold front moves in, the activity is pushing off to our east, and by 11 o'clock, it looks like the cold front moves through. Our temperatures will drop very rapidly tonight. They'll be in the 60s ahead of this cold front, and by tomorrow morning, we're likely to see those temperatures maybe in the upper 30s to around 40. So it basically pushes out as we get to midnight. But let me go through this one more time, and you can kind of see how this progresses, and you see those storms as they move to the northeast, basically right up and along the river into West Tennessee and North Mississippi until that front gets here. So one more close look at the severe weather outlook for this evening. We are in a level 2 or level 3 risk, depending on which part of the metro you're in. We do have a continued risk for strong thunderstorms. Very heavy rain would be with any of these storms, lightning certainly as well. You could see the potential for some hail. Could also see some damaging wind gusts from these storms over the next 3 to 4 hours. And cannot rule out a tornado forming, especially if some of these storms are a little more discrete or isolated in nature. If it's a big cluster of storms, it's less likely that we'll see a tornado out of that. But if there's just one good storm, a supercell that happens to move through an area, it is in an atmosphere that would support a rotating storm that could produce a tornado. So we do not want to let our guard down yet. The good thing is right now that we are not under any tornado watches, or there are no warnings in effect for the area. So that is all good news, certainly. But we just want to be aware that for the next 3 or 4 hours, you want to stay aware and on top of the weather. We're going to be with you all evening on Facebook and on Twitter, bringing you the latest updates. If we do get some severe weather right here in the metro, it is very likely that we will fire up a live stream on YouTube. You could go to our YouTube channel at on YouTube, look up from MemphisWeather.net or MemphisWeather.1, and we will go live there. Like that page, turn on your notifications so that when we do go live, you will find us there. And basically what we'd be doing is just going through the radar with you, showing you where the storms are, keeping you abreast of changes in real time, providing some commentary on that, taking your questions through the YouTube feed. And that will just be weather dependent this evening. We'll post on Facebook and Twitter if we decide to do that, and we'll bring you information there. We'll continue to provide it on both Twitter and Facebook until this front moves through later this evening. So That's what the plan is for tonight. I want everybody to stay safe. If you've got plans out, just make sure that you're staying aware of what's going on. Obviously, it'll be dark. It'll be hard to see things before they get here. And if you appreciate the services that we're providing, we certainly are glad to be able to provide that to you. And we would encourage you to go and check us out on Patreon as well. There are costs to doing these sort of things. All of the information we provide is for free, but we would love for you to support us through Patreon with basically our electronic tip jar that you drop in once a month, and that really goes to helping us not only continue to do what we do, to continue to expand to things like the YouTube live feeds and so forth. So everyone stay safe tonight. Keep an eye and an ear out, and stay with us throughout the evening, and we'll make sure that we keep you updated. Thanks a lot, and hope everyone has a good and safe evening.